All right.
All right. It's Friday. It's 3 o'clock, which means we're live. I'm Adrian Park. With me, our founder and CEO, Jay Carter.
Hello, hello.
And we're going to do another, no, try is a bad word. Okay. We are going to do our level best, which is a nicer way to say try, to keep this to 45 minutes today. And, but also I think, again, our mission here is to deliver massive value to all of the folks that are here in our group, both here on Facebook and also here on LinkedIn. So we're going to endeavor to do that. So, one of the things that I found in my experience going from finance and then coming over to construction, was that, there are certain things, like a lot of these, gurus on social and online, I think one of the things that we fall for, and I know I've fallen for it, is that, you just think that like all of these things work across all industries, and that's just not true. Now there are certain principles obviously that are true to business, but I found some of the ways that I built relationships in banking and finance were very different than the way I built relationships over here in contracting. And I think there are also, at the same time, there are some things that do cross over. So one of the things that and I came into this industry cold. So I had 15 years in banking, and then I came over to construction, and literally none of those relationships could help me get a job or help me get a project. So, I had to basically, and the company I was running honestly did not have a lot of quality relationships. So I spent my first 2.5 years networking my ass off to build relationships across a couple of different, like what I'll call relationship types. So the first group that I was looking for obviously were people that could hire us, right? And then the other group was until I found you, Jay, I was looking for a group of peers that weren't just gonna, it wasn't just gonna be a big bitch session if we got on the phone or got together for a bite, which I literally never did, but most of it was just me windshield time on the phone. So I didn't want that, right? Because I wanted to talk to people that we could help each other solve problems, because it's like it's playing with live ammo. So those were the two most important groups for me to build networks in. And it was tough. It was really hard. And it, like I said, it took me a couple of years, because what do you do? You're literally just, for me, I was cold calling general contractors and architects and engineers and other trades that, like roofers that were good for referring us business. But, it's tough out in those mean streets. And so, what can we, for others, because I remember before we met, you and I felt one of the big draws to you was that I felt very alone, right? Because I wanted to build something that was a machine, lather, rinse, repeat, where we could just, we could send out this and get leads back and then quote the jobs and win the jobs, and just like this big machine. And everybody that, and I'm not trying to shit on the guys that I used to talk to a lot, but a lot of the guys, they just weren't interested in this quite the same thing. They just wanted to get paid, or they just wanted to they thought, we didn't have the same mission. And that was one of the gifts in meeting you, was that you were, just exploding with mission. And I was like, this is this is someone that I can spend time with and learn from. And, and so for those of you who haven't, don't know, so Jay, I responded to one of Jay's Facebook ads a couple of years ago, and we worked together for a couple of years before he started this, and I joined up with him here at the Contractor Guy Group. So, so it was, and that was luck, I mean, not, I mean, obviously that you found, your ad found me, but like that was luck because
Mhm.
I wasn't, and I looked and looked and looked, and I did have a small group, like a kitchen cabinet of like really sharp guys. But I mean, it's tough. Like when you want to grow and when you're committed, it's tough to find. So how can we help? Like what did you, maybe you can like weigh
Yeah.
in on what you did, because again, I was just like doing everything I knew, because then I would talk to the guys. Like I had this one guy that was I don't even know what to call him, like the pricing lead for a 15, 18, $20 million concrete guy.
Mhm.
And he was incredible. I learned so much from him and we became really good friends. Right. And still to this day, we still connect and stuff and like go back and forth, but we helped each other. Like, and every now and again, like I'd throw him a job or vice versa. We bid something to him, but, it was very organic. And, you know, if I had some things I could have done, that would have been very helpful because there's probably some mistakes I wouldn't have made if I'd
Right.
had like both like what we had and, and then also like some of the relationships. So how can we help
Yeah.
other guys that are feeling the way I was feeling, guys and ladies, I feel like they're out there alone.
Yeah. So the first thing, and again, I've been blessed with a great network, and behind everybody that is knowledgeable and mission centered, you will find a group of people that generally have connected. All right. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I learn through other people. I've taken advice. I've been a very coachable person throughout my career, but that's almost entirely related to how I did business as well. So when I'm prospecting for new clients, the mission of networking is the same. Okay. So it's important though that we bucketize and don't try and combine the two. And I'll tell you why. All right. Lots of times contractors go out and they make this mistake, and you just got to look at it from a logic point of view. Yes. Is it cool to befriend your, somebody you could potentially do business? Absolutely. All right. I mean, that's a part of building a relationship, but
Right.
not to the point where you're taking business advice. And here's why: you have a conflict of interest, and there's a power imbalance in that relationship, no matter which way you slice it. Now, I know guys out there have done it and it's been successful, but most of the time, you can't depend on that relationship for advice on your business that's going to be manageable,
Right.
like something you can implement. And it's
Yeah.
just not good practice. I've
Right.
done it many times and I've never come out of it feeling, that I got what I went in for. Okay.
No.
So my rule of thumb, just like with family, and these are my rules, you don't mix the two together, right? If you're
Okay.
going to network and you're going to develop a partnership for business purposes, and it comes in under the principle of I want to do business with this person because it's lead driven, or it's business network, and building awareness of your brand. Keep it at that. Don't complicate it by making it more into the friendship where it begins to deteriorate, and it's not clear. All right, now that's my
Okay.
advice.
Sure.
And I've stuck to that. It's been very, very helpful for me. Again, when I comes to what am I going to do for my business, I found always non-competitive contractors will open up and talk about their issues, and
Right.
you will get true value. All right, when somebody doesn't feel there's a threat of you taking something from them.
Right. Right.
Okay, and there's
Yeah.
no chance of them misleading you, because that happens, right? And again, I'll give you a very good example of why this doesn't work. I've had lots of subcontractors that have seen my trainings and stuff that have worked for me and have asked me advice on job costing and stuff like that. And I simply respond to them as, hey, listen, my information and the stuff I've shared is readily available and it's for free, but our relationship needs to have some boundaries. And
Right.
when it comes to business, because we have a conflict of interest, I'm not comfortable talking about that. Right. So I leave it at that. And I just,
Yeah.
and again, there's no damage done. Now, if I jump in and start giving them advice on their business, all right, and it's misinterpreted, all right, I could actually be a predator in the situation. Right. So I choose to
True.
keep those boundaries clear.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to help them, and it comes from the pain of learning the hard way why you don't do that, right? Because again, it's the last thing you want to be doing is teaching someone your systems to come and compete directly
Right.
with you, right? It's just
Right.
logic. So again, when it comes to networking, and we're going to talk about a couple different buckets and some quick wins that we can use in our networking activities, but separate it. Okay. So if it's advice on your business and working with other contractors, my top level advice is find business owners that are like-minded. Okay. So I'll give you a good example of how this works. Adrian, yours and my conversation were successful because we were thinking in the same plane. Okay.
Right.
We were thinking at a 7-8 figure level,
Right.
but that doesn't apply to everybody. And again, there's been plenty of times when I've talked to contractors, and believe me, I help contractors to get to that space, but they're not there yet. They're still
Right.
struggling with getting off the tools. And again, I've also met some that are very business intelligent, so it's not a knock, but there's some guys that are just not. You're going to end up giving more than you're going to get back, and that to me is not valuable networking. All right, now I always give back. I always give as much as value as I can to everybody. As you can imagine, we're doing this for free, trying to give out and help contractors. But if your job as a contractor, all right, is to serve your business, right, like I'm serving mine, in this situation, you want to make sure you're putting yourself with people that are at the caliber to give and take, or else what happens, again, it's just going to be a consistent take, and again, it's going to tie up a lot of your time, and it's going to become a burden, right? So it's easier, once again, find a group of people that are on the same path as you are, all right, are going the same direction, that don't have a bias or any sort of competition, and stick with them, right? Again, working back and forth, and I've done it for years and years and been very successful with contractors that are even better at doing what they do than me, right? So a lot of how we do business and how good, strong relationships are formed is having the right intent going in, keeping it clear, right? And again, finding people that can give and take, right? So that's my
Yeah.
advice on that end. And masterminds, our Facebook groups, things like that, we try to set up where there is contributions from everyone, and they're coming again to share. It's not just to take value. Now, when it comes to business and networking, totally different animal. Okay, so, and for guys, and you may agree with me on this, but the most successful contractors that are out there, and that, let's say, the top 10%, they seem to have two qualities about them that are paramount.
Okay.
Or maybe
Okay.
we'll call it three. One is sales and networking. I'm going to mix, actually, we will call it two. So we'll call it sales and networking, because I feel like they're the same category, but we all know that guy that just seems to be able to get through multiple crowds, right? They're in all types of different groups. They're here, there, everywhere. And that is a skill set. Some people are naturally born with it. Some people need to learn it. Okay.
Right.
And then marketing. And it's ironic that sales and networking, they go right along with marketing. All right. So if we have a marketing mindset, and that we're trying to create awareness of our business, our brand, our, who we are, you can take those same principles and apply it. Right. So when I think of marketing, I first of all think of, okay, what's the intent? What's the message that I want to bring? All right. And this helps to steer you into who you network with. So for example, my intent is to generate leads for a roofing business. Okay. And we'll call them B2B leads. Well, the networking channels I'm going to go to, LinkedIn, right? Number one is I'm going to take the path of least resistance. I'm going to go directly to people who make decisions, and I can find them very easily on LinkedIn. All right. Companies, ownership, all of those kind of things. I'm going to start there, because it's a casual way to interact with other business owners that you have a potential interest. I'm going to get them in my channel. I'm going to get them on my page. All right. I'm going to ask to connect. I'm going to be polite. I'm not going to spam. And then I'm going to create content around something they would take interest in. So for example, if I want to solicit a project management company, B2B, right, that runs big projects, I'm going to start creating content that speaks to the pain points that that project manager may have, right? So for example, speed and, reporting is, with our project managers, they want, they want 24/7 service. If they have a problem, you're there, and that you're able to report back very quickly. That's been a big pain point of theirs, is that they have to talk to a number of parties involved, the the owners of the property, the the tenants or renters or whoever, and they need really good communication. So when I create content, I'm going to speak to the qualities that I have in terms of communicating third party and fourth party, right? We provide photos, videos, we're there, GPS track trucks. I'm going to put that out there as bait because I want someone to engage with it. But I'm not just going to put it out there like you would in terms of just posting that content and without a next step to action, a call to action, we'll call it, right? So
Okay.
it can be a very minor commitment, right? And we're setting a trap where we're going to get to network. And it might be an invite to just a phone call, right? Now,
Okay.
I would pair that with, if you're interested in this person, a lot of people, they get into the habits of just trying to network with everybody with no intent. Okay. Just hopefully this will work out. I don't believe in that kind of, it hasn't been successful for me in the past. I'm going to figure out channels to get in front of them multiple ways.
Yeah.
So not only just picking up the phone and giving them a call.
Right.
What did I do before that? I sent them a cold email. All right. I, like their content on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I've made myself clear to them that I'm a follower. Okay. I've made other more subtle things that, again, they're going to, potentially be able to recognize my name when I do make that call. Okay. The phone call or the cold call, if you're doing a B2B sale, is always the last step. Okay. The last step in what should be a system for you of networking, right? The reason why is people don't like them. All right. They're not, unless, they've been solicited or that you are welcoming the call. Most people don't want to take them, right? And
Right.
again, it's, it is what it is, right? But you would be far more successful using other forms of, follow up and, connecting, creating content, getting them to engage, getting them to attract them to you. That way you're also in an equal position when it comes time to ask for leads and stuff like that, right? So one thing you don't want to end up getting into the habit of doing is really chasing heavy. So that's the hard, like book a call, book an appointment, like just basically burning them down.
Right.
That again is not advisable. It changes the power dynamics. They're going to just make you price everything they can. They're going to treat you like the second or third person. What you want to do again is present yourself as a good opportunity for them. All right. And you can lead with things that wouldn't be a solicitation. So I want to explain what I mean by this. Is you want to lead with value. Okay. So if I'm taking the approach with a project manager, I'm not going to be like, hey, let's jump on a call. Right? Let's book a call. Let's book a call.
Right.
The reason why is that is a time commitment. All right. That is asking for something. All right. I'm going to reposition this, be like, hey, seeing that you're a project manager, I have this checklist that project managers can use for, doing a spot check from the ground to make sure that their buildings are, that they don't have any roofing problems. Can I share it with you? Right? Yeah, sure. Perfect. Great. I'm going to leave that with them. Perfect. Next time I'm going to come around, maybe, again, in starting to develop this relationship. All right. I'm going to check in and be like, hey, did you get a chance to use that checklist? No? Yes? Doesn't matter? Right? Okay, great. Just wanted to see, if there's anything that you could, if you needed any help with anything involving roofing. So what did I do there? How is that different than, hey, do you want to book a call? You haven't,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, it's warm and you're bringing value.
Right. So I brought value first.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm presenting myself with a solution to a potential problem they may have. And the closer I get to that problem, right? And you have no idea how effective this can be. So for example, the one that I used about communication. All right. We used a checklist, just like I said, we call it a lead magnet, right? That was a checklist to ask a roofing contractor if they did when you were ordering service from them, right? So again, they go through it all the time. What do I like when they're looking at a roofing company to see if they could actually serve a project management thing? What are the things that they need to have? Well, they need to have a live feed for videos and photos that can be shared third parties so that, again, everybody can see what's going on visually, right? They need to be able to track. They've got to have GPS tracking. They need to be able to, again, because they're going in and out of properties that may be occupied or may not be. Again, they got to be bondable. They got to be, insured. They've got to have, they've got to be lettered trucks. They've got to be, again, guys in uniform so that they're recognized inside of the compound, right? And that was part of the things that we got. And we got some really cool feedback. So some of the project managers would reach out to us and be like, you know what, I love that. Like there was things on there, but could you add this? I'm like, wow, that's now that's real networking, because we're having a
Interesting. Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
And here's where you take this to a really, a really effective level is, let's say you've got your core people that you're trying to attract to your business. Okay. Lead with value. All right. We can all think of ways that we can build value with our audience, and we're going to encourage people to come to us versus us chasing down them. Okay. So once you've started to create this conversation, okay, and I stress, you want to have conversations. All right. You do not want to get into the habit of speaking at people. And it's very easy. Here's a big distinction between it. So speaking at somebody, all right, is not doing the first step that I did. So asking first, getting permission. Would you like, would this be valuable to you?
Right.
Now, if I just sent it to them and been like, hey, I'm Jay, here's your lead magnet, how's that come off? It doesn't work.
Pushy.
It's spammy. It like people
It's very spammy.
and don't give advice unless nobody likes getting advice from a stranger.
Right.
Okay. So don't do it. Don't just go out there and get lazy and just throw it out on an email or however you're networking. Because those campaigns generally, the clients, now not always, but a good majority of them, you got to think your ideal prospect doesn't need a roofer. They've got a roofer. The only reason they're going to change is because you've had the opportunity to persuade them, and you're only going to get that by being at an equal level. All right, where you're non-threatening, and engaging them in a person-to-person conversation. I mean, you can do that digitally, but of course, and it's about leading with good value first. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And as I said, I very much did the old school approach
Right.
when I got into contracting. But I think that's also, like, I think that's why we've got, as contractors, we got to be a little more, we got to be willing to try some things that we haven't been comfortable with.
Right.
And, we've talked about this offline, you and I, and I've seen other people talk about this as well, a little bit of a, little cheat code here for contractors. There are not, like, LinkedIn right now is kind of the Wild West, right? Where there's not a lot of people posting there. And so, if you're one of them, like we do, like your account's active and I repost some of your stuff, like it's, there's a lot.
It's
because it's like, it's like being in a giant arena, but then there's only a few people, like it's you and like there's no one you're competing with, like
right.
You and a bunch of potential customers or potential.
So
affiliates.
let's maybe explain kind of what the different social media platforms, because those are all networking platforms. That's what they were designed for, but with a little bit of different intent. So for everybody that's listening there, I'll give you the crash course in social media platforms.
Social media 101 crash course. All right.
But as a networking tool. So first of all, with LinkedIn, what we have to remember with it is you're not going to treat it like you would in terms of communication and contact as you would treat Instagram or Facebook, where you're having like a conversation chat. You're going to treat it more like you're sending out a cold email. So you want to condense your material if you are contacting anybody, because people are on there less, and the demographic in general is over 40. Okay. Huge network. With that said, a great place to start, and here's why. Only 1 in 5 people post content on LinkedIn. Okay. So if you were to post 2 or 3 pieces of content a week, you would automatically come up in the organic search algorithms. Plus, on top of that, they have some other features like newsletter and stuff like that, where essentially you can put linking to websites and everything else that are going to give you more traffic or more authority in other places. So that's very, very valuable. Google really likes LinkedIn. So if you're doing any SEO or anything like that, it's brand healthy. And ultimately, again, you got to think of it as a giant Rolodex. If you looked at it as a giant Rolodex to get a hold of anyone in the professional level, okay? So again, big difference. We're going to be like when we look at these other platforms, but the professional level. So, what's their work email? What's their, their extension at their actual office? You're going to find that information there. And again, the approach to it is assume that everybody is going to be a week before they read the message you've sent them. You need to be able to get a point, like you're going to set it up like you would an email where you're making a point. It's not a chat. It's not it's not conversing back and forth, because people aren't there often enough and they're just checking in for specific things, right? So I hear it all the time. Hey, I'm never on here, blah, blah, blah. Like, so I know to make my points very clear, state the obvious and
Okay.
make it straightforward. When I'm posting content, I'm also making sure that content's appropriate for those channels. So again, professional, you are dealing with a higher level in general, professional there. And again, it also comes into kind of the age group and category we're dealing with. Plus, people go there to do professional business activities. All right. And there is some etiquette to it. Okay. Now, when we jump across to Facebook, what Facebook is a community generated social media platform. Okay. The purpose of it is to have, connections with people in your community and your local areas and stuff like that. Great place if you're doing local marketing. So a good, hack is get into your, the city, your town. All of them have them. There's like ones for your city center. But here's what you do. And I know guys and contractors that absolutely kill it with this stuff is you're going to get on to a general, community-based page. All right. And you're going to start by adding value to that page. So answering other people's comments. Don't get on there and start soliciting. Start being like, hey, I want roofing jobs, or hey, I'm a roofer, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Okay, because immediately what happens is there's mediators there, and the way that the algorithm's set up as well is that if you're contributing and you're having legitimate conversations, you're showing, that you're giving and taking, the mediators, first of all, are going to allow you to make those posts, right? And you would ask the mediator, hey, is it okay if I, share my value? But a best way to do this is, again, and I'll give you a really good example of a guy that I know, and I won't name any names here, but he's a really well-known plumber, but in social media. Okay. His entire business, he hasn't spent $1 on marketing, was going into a community page and giving them a lesson on common things that they would have that they could fix in their home. All right. For plumbing. And all his intent was there to solve a problem. Hey, if you're having this problem, before you call the plumber, right? And it was brilliant. And I loved his approach to it. And he was genuine. And he, every Saturday morning, would do one of these posts. He'd go live in the group, and he would help. And sometimes he would have people that would just jump on and be like, hey, I got this problem. And he would walk them through it if they could fix it. If not, who'd they call? So he built his authority in that area. And by doing that, the whole community knew him. And to me, that's a brilliant use of local area marketing. Okay, now it requires you to think about value first, all right? Because if you're just getting, no one wants to be, there's a very good rule of thumb. No one wants to be sold to, okay? Don't try to sell to people. If you lead with that, it's not going to be effective. If you come in.
We all want to buy, right? But we don't want to feel like someone's.
Right, but we don't want to buy from strangers. Okay. So again, when we use that and we go in with a proper intent is I want to solve 3 or 4 problems that are in my wheelhouse for this group. All right. You're going to get back what you've put in. All right. People are going to think of you now. Hey, that guy that was talking about the plumbing, now when I have a plumbing issue, all right, because I'm on there for a different intent. I wasn't necessarily there to look for a plumber, but if I have a problem now, you're in my head because this guy came in and just gave value without soliciting me to buy plumbing. So and he's introduced himself. He made himself helpful to the group, right? He answered the questions. He put in the work and effort it needs. That's a great, excellent way to do modern marketing as well as modern networking, because from there he's learning how to work with the mediators. What do they want to see for content? And he got himself a sweet little spot where, again, all of his business, and he's doing, again, 7-figure business, all right, completely from that one marketing piece alone. Brilliant. Okay. Beautiful. So now we're going to talk next about Instagram. Instagram is a content platform. All right. Even now more with threads. So Instagram, again, you can still get a lot of networking, and mostly it's finding like-minded, you can go find project managers, you can find businesses, you can find customers, but it's content driven. Okay, so what you need to know is that your content is like your business card there. All right. The better the content you have, all right, the more you're going to be recognized by other content creators. So again, I give you a good example of how this works. It's annoying. Well, maybe not annoying, but it doesn't give you as much value when you just go on and like somebody's stuff. They got thousands of people liking their stuff. That's
Right.
not really helpful for them. Okay. Now, but if
Okay.
you have an account because you've put some time into showing your value through your content. So again, we can take the plumber, for example. He would use that platform as giving tips, but that's just like speaking to the camera, putting your content out there so that community is coming to it to get information. Okay. So it's a content, and that's the way you come up in the algorithm is more people that interact with your content, the more organically it's seen, and you've got a wider reach networking spend. So again, a little bit like, and it's important that you understand those differences, because if you get into the game of posting just content to Facebook, right, and then you're trying to network on it doesn't work as well. Now, a good where to start is you're going to, help other, you want to network with other people that are creating content alongside of you, all right, that are like-minded or, can help you. So a good example of this is your suppliers. Okay. They're creating content now more than ever. All right. Having them give you a shout out, having them kind of get, push traffic towards you and get you, some engagement on your content and what's going to help your stuff grow. And then therefore you're going to be seen by more eyes that could use your service. Right. So that's a way that I would use it. Now, where it comes to strategy is getting it off the network. And I know this might go against what a lot of people say. I look for real businesses that exist outside of Instagram, but are using it, all right, to communicate their value. All right. So again, suppliers, what other examples? Project managers, construction companies. Like there's literally a slew of them. The local newspapers, right? Again, sharing some value or liking one of their posts and expressing that, or you could reach out to them. And here's what they have. They have these Instagram shoutouts. So if you go to a lot of your big brands, the guys that are carrying a lot of like they're basically, they've got a lot of followers and stuff. They carry some juice. They can get you in front of more people by shouting you out. So
So you
basically
could go to them and they could help you get more followers.
That's correct. So you would ask for an Instagram shout out. Now, usually they charge for these. Now, if it's your supplier, those are free, but you just get them to shout your account out, and all of a sudden you come up for a little bit of period of time in their feeds. So you're being seen by their audience, right? Vice versa. If you've accumulated an audience, all right, then that's your bargaining chip. That's what you get to use as potentially a way to trade or bargain with another another thing, or you can share traffic and cross branding. So there's a lot of other strategies to that, but in terms of networking, again, think about it this way. If there's somebody that can help you improve your business, create leads, or generally just, you want to be connected with, maybe it's a big builder and you're the subcontractor, right? Those are really smart things to do. I know a builder right now that we work with very closely, absolutely destroying it on Instagram, but his content game is so strong. He's making videos every day. And here's what happened. We're going after architects and home designers. Okay. He built his brand up and he got attention for the content he was creating, built a great audience on Instagram, but also engaged with all these architects, and because architects love Instagram, they're sharing their, their anything that's visual, right? Designers want to show homeowners, like being present there is really important for their portfolio. So he was active there. And by being active, they recognized his brand. They understand who he was, right? And he was also equally creating content. So again, content creators value that. Like if you're putting in the work and the effort of running videos, and that's hard stuff, right? That means you're dedicated. So when we started DMing and messaging people, they're already warmed up. They already could go to his page, look right at it and know, oh yeah, that's XYZ, he's a great builder because he's been demonstrating his value. He's been showing his value, and his content was driven towards that demographic. So, I mean, again, it made it so easy. We booked hundreds of appointments, hundreds, and it's nonstop. And that's a great example of networking, right? Because now, because they're using that platform frequently to show their value to their clients, we basically tapped into that. And again, his content game was very strong, but like I said, it's a lot of work on the content side. Okay. And that's videos and stuff. What I recommend is kind of a balanced approach across it all. But know the difference between the platforms, right? The last one, TikTok, which is always very popular,
Right.
is a totally 100% content driven platform. Again, you can network there, but it is all top of the funnel. So it's like the biggest attribute it has is it brings awareness to everything else that you do. Okay. So this might be getting a little bit into the weeds a bit, but I'm going to go for it anyways.
Go for it.
So,
Hot take alert.
right. So if you're using TikTok effectively, all right, what you're going to find is that your conversions, so people calling you, they're going to occur in other places. All right. It's not necessarily as much on the app itself. All right. And the reason why is because the way that the algorithm works with TikTok is it drives mass traffic to relevant stories. Okay. So
Yeah.
for example, if you have cat videos on your
Okay.
your TikTok, okay, it's only going to show your content, your whole channel, to people who like cat videos because they want it to go viral. They want people to
Yeah.
see it that care about that topic.
Right.
Think about the way that changes on Instagram. It doesn't matter. You can post, if a story about your cat goes viral, all right, it goes viral for a period of time, it comes down, your account continues on being, how you've designed it, if it's meant to be for builders. And you see this all the time where people mix their personal life with their business profile. That hurts you in TikTok. And the reason why is because, again, you show a picture of your family and you guys out having a good time, and when your intent is to draw in business and leads, all right, from B2B, that's not going to get you there. What it's going to get you there is in front of a lot of people with families who watch family content, right? So again, keeping that in mind. Now, the advantage with TikTok, which I feel is really kind of why it's so exciting, is that your content, it doesn't matter. Everyone's on a fair and equal level playing field. So meaning if your content's really good, okay, like your video is really good, it's going to get shown just as equally with any other major creator there. Unlike Instagram, which I explained to you, they carry weight on what you've done in the past. In TikTok, it does not matter. If people like it and they're staying on it, they pump it, right? So that's why you see people going viral. And you're like, wow, like they have nothing else except for this one video, right? And like Adrian, you must see it all the time. Even if the person's made a bunch, they've only got these things, and all the traffic that's being driven to them is based on that content, because now they're looking for trusted sources. So if I were to use this as a networking tool, I'd get very specific about who, what, where, why, and when I want someone to see that content. So again, if I'm going to use it as a B2B tool, all right, I'm going to try and find a trend or a hook that would appeal to project managers, right? Maybe there's a big event coming up and I'm going to run a video, or, again, another great way is to hack the only algorithm, the only platform that encourages you to not steal, but to recreate other people's content is Instagram.
Right.
So what a lot of guys can do here is they can go and look at what, somebody that's doing really well in the field is doing, and they can actually recreate the content. All right. Because that in TikTok, they reward that, right? Because there's parodies on everything. There's, again, you see people redoing the copy on it. So in that regard, getting your messaging is really clear. But the word of advice I would have is have your intention clear, know who your market is that you're trying to attract, and don't get caught up in just posting anything, all right, that you think will get views, because that won't get you in front of the right people. It won't get you in front of who you're trying to network with. And also, pretend that this is the top of the funnel. It's there. It's going to drive. There's no other algorithm, no other platform that creates more awareness, hands down, than TikTok, right? Most new businesses right now, they first see you on TikTok. All right. They've seen you you've seen your brand or seen your wares, but they're converting somewhere else. They're converting on Google or they're converting on Facebook. We're seeing a huge, like a huge connection where, again, you know, I may be running Facebook ads, but I have really good content on TikTok. Okay. My Facebook ads cost is only, my Facebook's are only ads are only doing so good. And we've seen this with our recruitment ads. We were running like recruitment
You're
ads
talking about in your roofing business.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So this is where we found the hugest advantage is that I was running, I had really good content in our TikTok, all right, around our recruitment. So we reposted those videos there and they were getting tons of views and likes and everything else, and it was great. But we seen a massive spike in our conversions over on Facebook where people were actually taking the applications. All right. Again, because it was driving the awareness, then the ad would pop up, they would get pixeled, and now I've got them in their network, and vice versa. They may have seen the ad, clicked on the ad, popped off of it, and then in TikTok now, I'm able to be in front of them, and I'm using a different type of content to really drive awareness of us and who we are, right? So again, it's not as like you know what an ad is on Facebook, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Can you tell the difference between one on TikTok?
It's harder to tell now.
Absolutely. And
you
that's
have to see that little sponsored thing in the
right.
corner.
And what you have to also keep in mind is people are on that platform for longer periods of time, 70 to 80 minutes on average. So they're being entertained with that. And that's the other kind of, you know, the difference is people are going there with the intent of entertaining themselves and not buying. All right. But by being there and being present and having your content come up to the relevant groups, it's a form of brand marketing that can be very effective. And brand marketing is networking sales, right?
So let's just kind of, you know, so when I left the masonry business, we were doing around $5 million. And we've got a lot of contractors in here that are doing that. Some of them are doing 10 to 20. We've got others that are doing upwards of 30, 40.
Yep.
So, and yet, you know, I know, you know, that, and I'm actually a pretty, I think I'm early to the party on some tech things. And yet I had done nothing with, I mean, that's not true. I had done very little with respect to social media. So, you know, if I was still running that business and we were having this conversation, like, what would you, and I was like a lot of the folks that are in our group, in our Facebook group and LinkedIn group. So how would you help me get from, because I would, you know, as someone who had spent a lot of time cold calling, both in my earlier career and then in construction to build relationships and get jobs and whatever. Like, how would you have helped me go from that, right? Just all analog on the phone, just burn up the phone lines, to, you know, leveraging, you know, because obviously I would have wanted that because it would have saved me time, right? Because cold calling takes a lot of time. Warm calling, all calls take a long time. So what would, you know, ABC, right? What would you have told me if we were still
I'll tell you the exact steps is as I would suggest them. All right. Is number one, get clear about your intent of what you're doing. Okay. So if my intent is to attract a B2B customer, okay, and I want to bring in, you know, large scale projects. All right. I'm going to go about that a little bit differently than if I want to bring in a residential client, a lower ticket residential client. So that's the first thing. Be very clear about who the market is, the avatar, and make sure that you've done research. Now, here's the key. All right. And now easier than ever with AI and everything else. We're going to do research, and we're going to research our prospect. We're going to research where they would hang out. Okay. If we don't know those spots that they would hang out, where would a project manager hang out with his network of friends? Where are they congregating on the internet, right? If you start to look at it, and I like to use this reference to kind of make it easier. You remember the green box, like the electrical box that all the kids in the neighborhood used to hang out at?
Oh yeah.
Right. So think about it that way.
That's a reference.
Yeah. So think about it that way. You have little networks of people that are hanging out on the internet, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not, hanging out in public as much or as often.
Right.
You have little groups and Facebook groups and stuff like that for exact interest in what you're looking for. Now, it's the same thing. If you're the new kid in town, all right, and you just wander up to the electrical, that's going to be pretty awkward, isn't it? Right? They don't know you. Like, you'd have to make
Right.
some sort of introduction or get introduced before you just jump in and start, hanging out, right?
Right.
Or else people
Yeah.
are going to be like, who is this kid? So you want to think about your internet presence being the same way and your approach, right? So again, if you think about value or journey, all right, and I have a really kind of easy way to, I'm going to share my screen here for everyone, but first we want to drive some awareness, right? We want to create awareness, and that's not in your client journey. And this goes for, by the way, you can use this for everything, but let's just say the way we're going to do this is networking. Okay. We're going to create some awareness of our brand or our, what we offer. Okay. Second, and this is where people make the big mistake, is you have to create engagement. Okay. Just like any social relationship, you're not going to go from, hey, nice to meet you, let's get married. You wouldn't do that, right? You're not asking for a serious commitment before you actually engage, all right? Court, like whatever you're doing, and the way you're going to engage, all right, is, again, you're going to create content. You're going to give some value. Maybe you're going to share some value, share an insight, share a case study, a story. There's so many ways you can do it, but this kind of content is different than other types of content, okay? So again, we're going back to the situation of a project manager, all right? I would find a place where on LinkedIn, here's plenty of them there, but where do they hang out and what problems do they have to solve? All right. What are they talking about? Because again, you could probably hear the kids at the buck and hear what they're talking about. Okay, great. Let's figure out how we can help somebody in the group. All right. So we engage somebody with something useful, practical. That's not going to be like, hey, I want to hang out at the green box. Right. Like, that's weird. Don't be weird. Right. Like, hey, I got this basketball. Great. You want to, like, there's ways to go about it. I always find that bringing it back to the playground makes more sense. But again, social media follows, and where we're trying to get them to, all right, in the client journey is next, we want to get them to subscribe. We want to make basically a high level bribe. Okay. And that bribe could be, hey, I've got this newsletter. I've got this lead magnet. Like I said, the checklist was ideal. It was perfect. All right. By the way, they're going to check your social credibility. So they're going to look at your channels. They're going to look and see, why does this person have any authority? Because nobody wants to be given, nobody takes advice from strangers. Okay. So this is why this part here and these two steps can't be skipped. All right. And this is at first, it's the lonely hard work. That's why no one gets past it. They want to go straight from here to convert. Right. Hi, nice to meet you. Give me business. Right. It's weird. Nobody does it that way. So we have to be more intentful. So again, an estimate or a calculator, like there's like, again, in your client journey, you would apply these things. And then only then you see, I've given 3 pieces of value. All right. I've made small commitments. Like, instead of, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Jay. Right. I have this basketball. Right. You want to play basketball? Sure. Great. Now I'm getting a little bit of a commitment, all right, to, hey, I want to hang out at the green box, right? That's, that's a kind of the school playground way. And then you're going to move them to actually conversion. Now, and hopefully I haven't lost too many people here, where this is valuable is the more you build up down here, all right, in the awareness, the engage, that's posting content, that's being present, that's, again, think about your prospect. When they come to your social media platforms, does it speak about how you can help solve their problem? Or is it just, look at me, like, like, is it just the same old postings? Like, you have to think of the intent of the posts and the intent of the content. Just like when you reach out in those situations, cold calling, all right, like, I love it. I'm best salesman I ever known have come from a background either door to door or cold calling. You have to have very, very leatherly skin to do it, because it's it's the opposite of what people want. Nobody wants to talk to a stranger on the phone to be solicited for business. So the guys that get through it have learned to very quickly work people through these steps, right? They create awareness. There's a strategy for getting someone to commit. All right. Now that's very high pressure. Like, again, some guys are good at it, some are not. Much easier to do it here. So think about it as, I'm going to bring people to me. I want them to come and ask me for help. Okay. This is an easier path. And then you build your content around getting people to ask for help, sharing your knowledge, sharing your experience, sharing your customers' experience is one of the best. Get them to come in and say, hey, John did a great job. He's the best plumber in the world. Great. Awesome. I'm going to share that to my social media platforms. Why? Because anybody I want to network with is going to see that.
That's right.
All right. And now I've brought my credibility up, tenfold, because it's not me saying, hey, look at me. I'm an expert with no evidence of that, right? And people look, we naturally do this in our brains now, where we're looking for that credibility, right? And that's going to get them to maybe be interested in taking a call from you, maybe respecting what you have to offer. Other than that, again, cold calling is inherently getting harder and harder to be successful at these days, because we have so many ways to screen, right? We have so many ways to stop the calls. What's working very, very well is, again, looking at building your social media. And think of it as remember back in the day when you'd get mailers from different offers, we call them sales letters. Remember, like, everyone used to, the junk mail, you still get them. Everybody gets it, right? If you ever want to learn how to do direct response marketing, go and look at some of those things, right? Because they're having to do a lot of this in a very short period of time, right? So, and again, once you start to kind of map out where your ideal or avatar is hanging out, where they would congregate on the internet, where they might see your, the value you can bring, and you place it in a proper format and a way for them to see it, all right, you are going to create a stream of what we call organic traffic. So you're not paying for that. You're trading your time and your energy of creating the content for the value of somebody recognizing you and organically coming to you based on that. And it's very, very, I know businesses that completely run entirely 100% on organic. And again, that's where you want to be. The algorithm rewards that. They want content creation. They want you contributing to conversations. So again, that's kind of my crash course in networking on social media platforms. How would we do?
I think we did pretty well. I think, I'm sitting here thinking, like I feel like I'm listening to you, like, and I'm thinking like I'm running the business, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to sound, I'm not a stupid guy, but this is going to sound dumb. So just preface this with that. But I never thought of, it was a way of getting business, and it was a way of building relationships, and, it was all connected. But this really is a part of networking, is a part of your marketing playbook. Right?
That's what I said when we started.
Again, I know it sounds stupid that I literally was like, oh, I'm 47 years old. I've, done some things, and that I just saw that. And I think I think that it's one of those things that, and this is what I wanted to get to. This hopefully doesn't sound dumb, but it's not a should, it's a must.
It's absolute, especially now more than ever.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not something it's not a luxury, like I should do this. Like we have to be doing this.
So, and again, guys that are running ads, especially you guys, I'm really, because I feel bad. And even your SEO, like your SEO now is a lot driven on what you contribute in your socials. Okay. If you want to be successful running ads, that means that your cost per acquired customer, all right, how much does it cost me to acquire a customer on the internet? If I didn't run my social media the way I did in our roofing company, our CPMs, or cost per acquired customer, would be outrageous. In fact, it's what discourages most contractors from doing them. Is because they're not. That's right. They don't have any reach.
They have to pay when they
That's right. So they get exactly. So they get penalized that.
Yeah.
Not only that, but people have gotten into the habit now where they may see your ad, okay, but we're being bombarded with ads, like just everywhere you look, they're there. All right. It takes roughly 9 to 13 times to be in front of your prospect before he'll recognize your brand. Okay.
Wow.
So and again, this is the inside secrets of, again, guerrilla type marketing. I know that I have to get in front of my ideal avatar as many times and on a many different places as I possibly can with the same call to action, direct response. I want them to take this next step, right? I'm encouraging them to do that. Like, it's about your intent. If you're just going to get on, and I see this, we hear about it. Like I have guys cry on my shoulder every week about, oh, I can't get leads. I can't do that. I'm like, yeah. And you know why? Because you can't, like, if you're coming on as the stranger, all right, that nobody knows, right? And people aren't engaging with that ad, is no matter how good it is, all right? It's because they know what it is. Nobody wants to be
Right.
sold, right?
Right.
So again, think about it as an investment in your business, because if you brought your cost per acquired customer down by just building it into your routine, it doesn't have to be pro either. Like, you just have to have some thought into who's this piece of content going to speak to, what area am I trying to work on. And the best way to do it, if you're going to look at aware, engage, subscription, if you're working on just those, so I want to build some value, right? I'm going to share a problem that I solved. All right. I'm going to create engagement by sharing somebody else's opinion of how I solved that problem. And then I'm going to call to action. If you want this problem solved, give me, download that or book an appointment. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I could just roll those 3 types of like content, and we do. If you go on my thing, it's very simple, but it's consistent. It's the
Yeah.
same, again, who am I speaking to? All right. Why am I posting it? Am I just posting it for likes? And because that's not going to drive business. That's not going to drive people reaching out to you outside of the internet to say, hey, you know what? I appreciated that tip or that thing. I used your checklist, blah, 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 because those things, that's networking, right?
Yeah.
You built, and now you have people that are following you because they trust you, right?
Yeah.
And they see the value in what you bring. So that's where I would be focused as a contractor. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Now with AI, it's never been more easier to create generalized, content posts. But again, think about who you're speaking to, and don't just, do it for the likes or the gram. It's not useful or practical, and it'll hurt you if you're getting on certain algorithms. Like, again, if you're jumping on TikTok and your content's all over the place, you're never going to get in front of the audience that you want to be if you're using it for that purpose, right?
Right.
If you're using it for driving awareness of your business, all right, keep it to those things: tips, pointers, value, testimonials, speaking to, homeowner, associations, stuff like that. And you'll get rewarded in, like, again, when you start driving real leads without paying for them, that's when your cost per acquired customer comes way down. We all know that is in my opinion, is the number one leading KPI for if a business is going to be successful or not.
All right. So if folks want to, if they want some more help with this, because this is, again, I'm listening to you today in particular, like I've got my masonry restoration hat on, and I'm thinking, like, because this is something I definitely, we were working on it a little bit, but this is something that I had not mastered, I would say, or had significant competency in. I'm thinking, like, man, that's a lot. So
Right.
I'm saying, like, I'm just, again, wearing that hat and kind of going back
Yep.
to that sort of like place in my head. So if I'm feeling that way, I suspect other people also are. So, like, where can we, should we get
Yeah.
over
So
to school? Like, where can
yeah,
folks come to get, because they want to maybe test the waters and see,
right.
like, does this stuff really work, and get some help?
Right. So again, in proper fashion here, I'm going to bring you through the subscribe stage. Reach
Okay.
out to
All
us.
right.
I have
Practice.
I have some free mini courses on this stuff, like free content. Come hang out. I'm doing a live every Thursday, 3 o'clock. Come join me. Let's engage. I'll help you, identify these areas of your business that you want to improve. And again, I will provide resources, and we can chat about it and see, again, if it's a good fit for our mastermind. If these are things you're trying to solve or you're interested in, all right, at least get advice from somebody who's done it, who's doing it, who understands it, and is going to give you, the cleanest, straightest line to where you got to be. Let me build some
And
value for you.
And so and we don't charge for that. That's
No,
free.
that's
You're
free.
just on there. And if there's some value and then there's something that we're offering that, they can plug into their business, great. If not, then it's fine too, right?
Yeah. Well, we're also going to be running those schools live into the Facebook group too. So again, if you want to
Okay.
get on interactively, get your questions answered, come in, see what we're working on. We have a subscription for that. You just jump on there. We'll send it out to you. But yeah, just engage and we'll help you out.
Okay. Final thoughts, Jay.
Yeah. So again, it just I want to drive home for guys that out there that are going to give the immediate first excuses. I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I've
Okay.
heard this. I don't know. This time of year is really difficult, especially for contractors. They're missing their appointments. They're missing
Yeah.
time with their family. They're not going on vacations.
Right.
And it's a sort of a stressful time of the year. I want contractors that are out there that are putting that roadblock of time. All right. And I want them to really reverse that and think, how much more time can you afford to spend working in your business?
Right.
Rather than on the business. Okay. Because I guarantee you can continue to do exactly what you're doing. That's taking up all your time indefinitely. And people do for years, and you will not succeed at getting to the next level, right? The next spot that you want to be where you have some freedom. So these kind of things, these kind of opportunities to talk with other, not just me, don't just take my advice, right? I mean, we have some heavyweights now in our network that are coming in with, tremendous value just by proxy. Jump on there, have a chat with them, see what they're, how they're handling and managing things. And again, look to work on your business, even if it's for a little, like 20 minutes a week. That will take you and will get your mindset and our network. That's what we're doing here, networking. Okay. That will get you on a fast path to really mastering the art of working outside the business and having the business work for you.
I think it's great. All right. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. So we're going to be are we doing that this week, Jay?
Yep. I'm going to start my first one this week.
All right. So if you want to jump in on these, there's schools, it's SKOOL. Send us a DM, drop a comment here on this live or on the replay, and we'll get you connected with that, or check it out Thursday, 3:00.
Yep. And then we're going to live stream it too, but you won't be able to interact. So again, just get a key. We got tons of training and more to come in there. So lots of good value to be built.
All right. So again, thanks everybody. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to actually be in the training with Jay, send us a comment here or send a DM to us. And otherwise, we're back here Friday, 3 p.m. and we'll see you soon.
Bye.